Hey guys, what is going on? It is Brooke, or the Undead DM, sorry, back at it again with another video for you today. And in this episode, we're going to be going over the third subclass for the Shaman by Ross Leiser, known as Totemism. Now, if you guys haven't seen my previous videos on the Shaman class and the Spirit Guides, I will leave a link in the description down below. Also, please check out the other subclasses, primarily the Exorcist and the Sympathism class from the previous episodes to get a gauge on how I'm going to be judging these. And if you like what you see, please hit that like button, subscribe. But without further ado, let's get into it. So, Totemism is basically the best way I could describe how this is going to work is similar to the Totem Warrior Barbarian, where depending on what you pick, you get certain benefits, which is good. I like the Totem Barbarian. I've even reworked it a little bit in my Barbarian Homebrew. If you want, when we hit about 100 subscribers, I think I'll go over my own Homebrew and tell you guys what I think I need to fix, but I digress. So Totemism is you basically create totems, and the bonds with your spirits create these physical objects, or you create the physical objects to put your spirits into them, which is interesting. But so the first feature you get here is bonus proficiencies. At second level, you get 2 of the following proficiencies. You either get carpenter's tools, mason's tools, painter's supplies, or woodcarver's tools. You also gain expertise when using them. You also, at second level, get a feature called Call Totem. So, as an action, you can magically conjure a small totem in an unoccupied space you could see on the ground within 30 feet of you. Okay. Alternatively, you can conjure the totem onto the back of a willing creature you can see within 30 feet of you that is a medium or larger. So you either choose a target location on the ground and a totem pops up there, or you put like a totem backpack on somebody. The totem is a magical object that has an AC of 13 plus your charisma and a number of hit points equal to 5 times your shaman level. The totem is immune to poison damage, psychic damage, and all conditions, and if it is forced to make an ability check or a saving throw, all of its ability scores are +0, and it disappears if it is reduced to 0 hit points, or after a minute, and you can dismiss the totem early as an action. And when you create the totem, you determine its appearance and which spirit guide's power it is channeling, choosing from one of the spirit guides you chose for your medium feature. You don't have to have the spirit channeled in order to create the totem, but at higher levels, channeling the same spirit guide as the totem enhances its effect. On each of your turns, you can use a bonus action to activate the totem's effects, which are detailed in the Spirit Totems table. And if such an effect requires a save, you use your spell save DC. And while you are within 5 feet of your totem, you can use your action to cause it to teleport up to 30 feet to an unoccupied space on the ground or onto the back of a willing creature. And once you conjure a totem, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest, or you can expend a first level spell slot or higher to conjure it again. And if you conjure a totem while you already have one conjured, the first totem disappears. So, it is a nice ability when you look at it initially, but then you read further into it and it does kind of suck. Because that means the maximum AC that this thing can have is an 18, it has no movement speed of its own, and as you'll see later, it does kind of suck in terms of range. What also sucks is that it costs you your entire action to conjure, and in order to teleport it, you have to use your action, and in order to activate its effects, you have to use your bonus action. Meaning on your first turn as a subclass, you have to use your action to conjure it, and then you have to use your bonus action to activate it. Meaning you don't get to do anything on your turn other than that. Now, on subsequent turns, using your bonus action for this, instead of casting a spell, which the Shaman doesn't really have a lot of bonus action spells to begin with, is fine depending on which spirit you have. Now, what I do like about it is that it has the ability that states that you don't have to have the spirit channeled in order to summon the totem. Meaning, if you have 3 spirit totems that you know, but you only have 1 channeled because you haven't reached 18th level for some godforsaken reason, then you could still channel the other 2 spirits you don't have channeled and still gain their effects, but you don't get the enhanced effect, which we'll get to when we get to it. And sometimes the enhanced effects aren't really that much different than the base effects. They just either increase the die size, increase the number, or slightly increase the range. Which is fine. It's not good, it's alright for what you're getting. The Locus of Power at 6th level. When you can cast a spell of 1st level or higher, granted by one of your chosen spirit guides that you aren't currently channeling. The spell must be of a level you can cast, and you must expend a spell slot of the appropriate level to cast it, and you can only do this once per short or long rest. So, being able to cast a spell from a spirit guide's list that you don't have channeled once per short or long rest, it sounds good, and in some cases it is, but I would have made this like charisma modifier number of times per short or long rest, because if you are playing a battle shaman with the more aggressive spirit totems like the fire spirit or the animal spirit, and you need to support your allies with some buff spells from the benevolent spirit, or you need to curse or harm your enemies with other spirits like the lost spirit and the mischievous spirit, having to only do that once and then just be stuck doing something else for the rest of the time does kind of suck. And also remember, you can only change spirits once per long rest. Meaning, if you change into Fire Spirit, and then you're going through this dungeon, you don't get a long rest, and you reach the final boss, and it turns out that the creature is immune to fire damage, you just can't do anything. You're screwed. So I would have allowed this to like change what spirit you're currently channeling until the end of combat, or until like a certain time period, like maybe a minute, 10 minutes, and then you can only do that once per short or long rest. That would have been better. Or maybe allow you to temporarily channel another spirit or all of the spirits in order to use it for 1 minute, and then you can only do that once per short or long rest. That would have been a lot better in terms of power. Because remember, you only have access to 3rd level spells at this point. Sure, Fireball is strong, but it's not going to harm a red dragon. I'm not saying you're going to fight a red dragon at this level, but that's just an example. It just needs a bit of a power boost. Totemic Repair. At 10th level, casting your Spirit Guide's spells bolsters your totem with spiritual energy, so when you cast a spell at 1st level or higher, granted by one of your Spirit Guides, while you have a totem conjured, the totem regains hit points equal to twice the level of the spell. This is okay, but I think what makes it very different is that it doesn't state anywhere in this ability that it has to be from the spell list of the totem you are currently conjuring. Because remember, it said here in Call Totem that if you have the totem conjured and you're also channeling the spirit that you put into the totem, it gains a bonus effect. But with Totemic Repair, it states that if you cast any spell of 1st level higher from one of your spirit guides while you have a totem conjured, it heals. Meaning, if you use your Locus of Power and you cast something from like the water spirit and you currently have the fire spirit active, like you're currently channeling the fire spirit, and then you use Locus of Power to cast a water spell from the water spirit, but you also have the fire totem out, the fire totem still heals. Because you're still casting a spell from a spell list or from a spirit totem, spirit guide you have. It's a little sad that it comes a little too late. I would have preferred this. I would have preferred Totemic Repair at an earlier level, because your totems are probably getting destroyed once the enemies realize what the totem is doing. If your DM is smart enough, because it's got a low AC, low HP, and it's just overall very easy to hit. Especially if you put it on the back of an ally and they get blasted with an AoE spell, the totem has to make a save too. So if it gets stuck in the blast and you're not within 5 feet of it, it can just go poof, and then you have to spend an entire spell slot and an action to do it again. So having this at the same level that that Abjuration Wizards get with their Arcane Ward would have been a lot better. Because I know that Abjuration Wizards at 6th level, or whatever the next level after the second one where they get their features, is that whenever they cast an Abjuration spell, their totem heals for a certain amount. That would have been a lot better. But I digress. Overall, a good feature. Finally, Call Totem Pole. As an action, you can magically conjure a large totem pole within 30 feet. It takes the form of a number of totems equal to the number of spirit guides you have, each one stacked on top of one another, and channeling one of the spirit guides. You choose the order in which the totems are stacked and the appearance of the totems. These choices have no effect on the totem statistics, and the totem pole counts as a totem created by the Call Totem feature for the purposes of totemic features. It has an AC of 13 plus Charisma, and a number of hit points equal to 10 times your Shaman level. It is immune to the same things, and it has the same ability check and saving throw modifiers as it did when it was a small totem. And it disappears if it's reduced to 0 hit points or after a minute, and you can dismiss it as an action. Once on each of your turns, you can use a bonus action to teleport the totem pole up to 30 feet to an unoccupied space you can see on the ground, and then activate the effects of 2 of the totems within the pole, each of which are detailed in the Spirit Totems table. And once you conjure a totem pole, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest, or until you expend a spell slot of 6th level or higher to use it again. And if you conjure a totem or a totem pole while you already have a totem or totem pole active, the previous one disappears. So basically, at this point, remember, the Shaman can only have, I think it was 6 spirits at once. So at 14th level, when you get this, you have 5 spirits, meaning you'll have 5 totems, like 5 little totems stacked on top of one another, but you can only activate 2 of the abilities as a bonus action on your turn after teleporting it. And here's a very interesting thing. The activation of 2 of the totem abilities is tied to the teleportation. Because remember, it says you can use a bonus action to teleport the totem 30 feet, and then activate the effects. And if anyone who's ever played Yu-Gi-Oh knows, and then effects mean that the ability that comes after the and then has to happen after the first effect happens. It's a requirement, meaning that you have to teleport the totem in order to activate the 2 abilities. If this just read on your turn, you can teleport the totem up to 30 feet, or activate 2 of the totem abilities as a bonus action, or both, then that would be a lot better. This way it allows you to go, okay, my totem is kind of in the middle of danger, I'm gonna teleport it away. Or, my totem is more useful where it is, but I just want to activate the ability without changing where it is, because I have the perfect radius, or the perfect area that it needs to be in. So I'll just use my bonus action to activate the ability. So how I would change this is on each of your turns, as a bonus action, you can do one or both of the following. Teleport the totem to an unoccupied space on the ground within 30 feet, and then on the second dot, it would say activate 2 of the totem abilities. Like, activate 2 of the totem's abilities from the spirit guides. That would make it a little bit more versatile, but I would also have put it a little bit earlier, maybe at the 10th level, because again, capstones, if you're going to go past 10th or 12th level, they have to be ridiculously strong, because nobody's ever going to go past this point. Nobody. And if your DM is making a campaign that goes past 12th level, then they're going to have to start throwing some really hard shit at you. Because at that point, you're so strong as players due to magic items, abilities, features, feats, that the DM just really doesn't have a lot in terms of official material to throw at you that is a proper challenge without it just being kind of a steamroll. Now we'll go over all of the Totems abilities. And I'm going to do like this as a lightning round because I really don't want to go over all the implications of all of these. So let's get through this. Okay, so air. You can target a creature within 30 feet of the totem, and they have to make a dex save or take a d8 lightning damage on a failed save, half as much on a success. And in 10th level, while you are channeling the totem, or while you're channeling the air spirit, it increases to 2d8. So once again, this is one of those totems that just increases in damage. It's not that good. It's a 30 feet and it only targets one creature. If it targeted every creature within the area, that might be a little too strong. I'm not entirely sure, because 3d8 worth of lightning damage is still worse than lightning bolt. But I guess 8d8, if you hit 4 targets at 10th level, is stronger than a lightning bolt, but you could also just cast a lightning bolt at a higher level to get the same damage output. And you're also only on average dealing 1 point of damage more than a d6 with a d8, so you're not gaining that much additional damage. Ancestral. You can target a creature within 30 feet, and once before the start of your next turn, the creature can choose to gain a +2 to 1 ability check, attack roll, or saving throw it makes, and the target can wait until after it rolls the d20 before deciding to gain the bonus, but must decide before the DM decides if it fails or succeeds. And once you reach 10th level, while you channel the Ancestral Spirit and you have the totem, the bonus increases to a +4. Situational. It's also pretty good. And unlike the previous subclass of Sympathism, where the bond breaks if they use it on a saving throw, this one just happens. But again, it kind of sucks. It only targets one creature within 30 feet of the totem. And it's only a +2, which is still good at the level you're getting it, but then at 10th level, a +4. Most people are going to have like +3 weapons, if not higher magic weapons at this point, so using it on attack roll isn't going to help. A lot of features that classes get at later levels also help them with succeeding, like the Fighter's Indomitable that allows them to reroll saves. It's still a nice bonus. I would have made it a +3 to start, honestly, and then made it a +6 later. So basically they just add proficiency bonus to it, which is nice. And then also, if we were just going to keep it as a 2 and 4, I'd allow you to target more than one creature. But that's just me. Animal. You target one creature within 30 feet. And you choose an ability score, and that target has advantage on ability checks and saving throws using the chosen ability score until the start of your next turn. And at 10th level, you can choose 2 ability scores, and they have advantage on ability checks and saving throws using both of them until the start of your next turn. So you choose a guy, and if you're facing someone that you know likes to wrestle, you can just give them advantage on strength and dexterity checks and saving throws until the start of your next turn, and you'll be good. Again, it still sucks and only targets one creature, but that's kind of a theme that's with the supportive ones, that they really only target one creature. Some of them target more, but the damage is lower or the buff is less, which kind of sucks. Benevolent. Choose a creature within 30 feet of you. It has a d6 temporary hit points until the start of your next turn, and it has advantage on saving throws against spells and other magical effects while it has at least one of these temporary hit points. And at 10th level, the temporary hit points increase to a d6 while you're channeling the spirit and have the totem. That's a thing that's going to continue. Like I said before, the 10th level features of these totems, they get these only if you're channeling the spirit and you have the totem at the same time. Advantage on spells and spell-like effects. It's alright, but having such a low amount of temporary hit points and basically being able to just have somebody with a sword or a bow hit them for 8 points of damage, getting rid of the temporary hit points, and then using a spell that requires the save kinda defeats the purpose. Which does suck, but it makes sense. I would honestly just make the temporary hit points bigger. But Earth. In a 10-foot radius around the totem, each creature must make a dex save, or take a d6 force damage, and also the ground around it within that 10-foot radius becomes difficult terrain until the start of your next turn, and at 10th level, the damage increases to 2d6. Difficult terrain in a 10-foot radius, I would have increased the radius to maybe 20, 30 feet. Also made your allies unaffected by it, and also increased the damage, but that's just me. Fire, a line of flame 15 foot long and 5 feet wide, erupts in the direction you choose. Each creature in the line must make a dex save or take a d8 fire damage. And also, the fire ignites anything flammable that isn't being worn or carried. And at 10th level, the damage increases to 2d8. Again, I also would have increased the range, because this is essentially just burning hands, but in a line. And it's worse burning hands at that. So made the line bigger, wider, something. The Lost Spirit. Choose a creature within 30 feet. They must make an intelligence save or take a d6 psychic damage, and have disadvantage on the first ability check or attack roll it makes before the start of their next turn. And once you reach 10th level, the damage increases to 2d6. So, Lost Spirit, it's alright. Intelligence is a nice thing to target since not a lot of creatures are going to have high saves in it. And disadvantage on the first ability check or attack roll until the start of your next turn is fine, but it would have been better if it just added disadvantage on all of them until the start of your next turn, which would have been a lot more helpful. Malevolent. Target a creature within 30 feet. They must make a con save, take a d6 necrotic damage, and you reduce its maximum hit points by the damage it took. And if it dies, the target dies if this effect results, or if the target dies if this effect reduces its maximum hit point maximum to 0. And once you reach 10th level, the damage increases to 2d6. So again, it's an alright effect, but it's a con save, and con saves really, really suck because a lot of higher level creatures aren't gonna fall for this because they have higher con saves. So the Mischievous Spirit, target a creature within 30 feet, and the next attack roll made against the target before the start of your next turn has advantage. And at 10th level, you can surround 2 targets, or you can target 2 people, and each target must be a creature you could see within 30 feet of the totem, and the next attack will be made against each of the targets before the start of your next turn has advantage. So you target 1 person and give the next attack roll advantage, and at 10th level you get to target 2 people. I would have made it just a number of creatures equal to your charisma, and then at 10th level make the first attack a critical hit, but maybe specify it has to be with a weapon and not a spell. That might balance it out to give marshals kind of something to look forward to. Mournful. Choose a creature within 30 feet of you. They have to make a wisdom save or have its speed halved until the start of your next turn. And a creature who has its speed halved by this ability can only take an action or a bonus action, not both, and it cannot make more than 1 melee or ranged attack during its turn. So basically you give them the slow spell. And at 10th level, you can force 2 creatures to do this within 30 feet. So basically it's worse slow, but you can choose who has to suffer from it. which in some situations is better than the slow, because slow is just area of effect, and this spell and this ability is single or dual target, so sometimes it's better. Vengeful, target a creature within 30 feet, and the next time the target hits with an attack roll before the start of your next turn, the attack deals an additional d6 damage, and once you reach 10th level, it increases to 2d6. Pretty weak buff. I would have made it 2d6 to start, or maybe 2d8 to start, like a smite, and then increased it, because right now that's just too low. Warrior. You choose a creature within 30 feet, and until the start of your next turn, they gain a +2 to AC, and at 10th level, you could choose 2 creatures. Again, alright, would have increased the AC bonus to 3 at this point, but that's just me. And finally, the Water Spirit. The totem spouts water in a 10-foot cone that you can choose. And each creature has to make a strength save or take a d6 bludgeoning damage and be knocked prone. At 10th level, the damage increases to 2d6. Again, I would increase the damage, increase the range, make them have disadvantage on the save, just something. Because in general, what I've noticed with all of these over my time, not only playtesting it, but also trying to rework this class for myself, for personal use, it's generally not a good thing to have everything be so weak. Like, to start, it's alright, but then having to wait all the way until 10th level, which is basically endgame, to do the same amount of damage or utility or benefits or anything equivalent to a first level spell kind of sucks. It needs to add more. For a 10th level feature, it's basically endgame. You have to make them strong. You have to. That's why whenever you read Paladin and their 20th level abilities, you're reading them and you're like, wow, those are pretty strong. Or you read Cleric's 20th level ability and you're like, wow, they could just ask a god for any favor they want. Yeah, they kind of have to, because you're never going to get to that point. So if you ever do get to that point, it doesn't matter. Because at that point, you're winning the game anyway. I say winning, but I mean, like, you're basically steamrolling all of the Dungeon Master's encounters, unless he's ruthless. Or he's very smart. But overall, I think in terms of flavor, I like this subclass the best. In terms of power, it's about mid. I would put it up. I would put it above the other two, but the last one that we're going to cover in the next episode. Sorry, my mistake. The final one that we're going to cover in this one is by far the most broken, and the next one is kind of above it in a little bit of a sense, but not by much. But with that being said, I'd like to thank you all so much for watching, and if you like this episode, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, share it with your friends, let them know that what I think about this product in general, and I'll see you all in the next episode, where we are going to go over the war chanting, and I'll see you then. Latest.